Okay, with us in the studio is an economist and business consultant, Paul Igbinoba. Joining us from our studio in Abuja is Jaye Gaskia, political analyst. Good morning, gentlemen, and
Good morning.
good to have you. Of course, we start this discussion believing that you did listen to President Buhari's Democracy Day speech. Well, you are an economist. Which aspects of that speech really resonated with you?
Well, from the perspective of the economy, of course, he touched on a lot of
Of
issues.
things, yes.
But speaking as an economist and the economy, the president did express his concern about the current state of the economy and what his government is doing about it. There's no doubt that the president means well, but to move forward, we have to apply the right policies, and instruments. So the economy doesn't respond to sentiments; it responds strictly to the right economic incentives, and policy tools. It's been a difficult year for Nigeria. And of course, the president is certainly on the hot seat. He's done well generally, especially in the fight against.
All right, it's top of the hour now, and Ike is standing by for the news update for the time, and then we come back. Good morning again, Ike.
Thank you very much indeed, Mike. Now, there have been protests and clashes in some southern parts of Nigeria. Now, the clash between members of the outlawed indigenous people of Biafra and officers of the Nigerian police force in Asaba, the Delta State capital, on Monday left no fewer than 6 people dead in its wake. A pregnant woman and an unspecified number of persons on both sides of the divide were also left injured. The casualty figures on both sides of the divide were given by the Delta State Police Command's acting image maker Charles Muka during an exclusive interview with TVC News on Monday. Meanwhile, the police in Imo say that they have arrested 17 pro-Biafran activists for holding a rally in the state, while in Enugu, at least 13 other suspected members of indigenous people of Biafra were also arrested for alleged unlawful protests in the state. The Imo State Commissioner of Police, Taiwo Lakanu, spoke to us earlier and explained what transpired. The Nigerian government says that it is not likely to sign the economic partnership agreement with the European Union. The deal is meant, as we understand, to create free trade area between the European Union and the African, Caribbean and Pacific group of states. But Nigeria's Foreign Minister Geoffrey Onyema believes it will impact negatively on the country's manufacturing sector. The National Coordinator of Oodua People's Congress, Gani Adams, says that members of the group may not be able to provide adequate security for Yoruba race against attacks by herdsmen. He spoke at a lecture organized by the Ondo State Council of Nigerian Union of Journalists in Akure to commemorate Democracy Day with the theme, Herdsmen Clashes. What implication for inter-ethnic relations? Adams, who was a guest lecturer at the event, said the negative comments of Yoruba people about the group have made the leadership of the APC to restructure the group. All right, that's the update now. Back to you, Mike and Ngozi.
Thank you, Ike. Thank you. All right, you're watching TVC Breakfast, and we are looking at the speech, the May 29 Democracy Day speech by the President. And we have in the studio here Paul Igbinoba, an economist and business consultant. And in our Abuja studio, we have Jaye Gaskia, a political analyst as well. Now, Sunday, May the 29th was Nigeria's Democracy Day, marking 17 years of uninterrupted democratic rule in the country. It also marked President Muhammadu Buhari's 1 year in office. Now, while addressing Nigerians, President Buhari talked about his achievements 1 year after being voted into office.
The president also talked about the challenges bedeviling Nigeria and measures being put in place by his administration to tackle them. First, let's listen to what the president said on the economy.
On the economy, in particular foreign exchange and fuel shortages, our plan is to save foreign exchange by fast-tracking repair of the refineries and producing most of our fuel requirements at home. And while growing more food in Nigeria, mainly rice, wheat and sugar, we will save billions of dollars in foreign exchange and drastically reduce our food import bill. We resolved to keep the Naira steady as in the past. Devaluation had done dreadful harm to the Nigerian economy. Furthermore, I support the monetary authorities' decision to ensure alignment between monetary policy and fiscal policy. We shall keep a close look on how the recent measures affect the Naira and the economy.
Okay, and we have Paul Igbinoba, economist and business consultant, right here in the studio to talk about this. Yes, you heard the president there talking about, you know, the need to save billions of dollars and to reduce our import bill, and all of these measures, including, of course, aligning the monetary and fiscal policies.
Yes.
Yes, you want to touch on some of this, and how realistic is it, you know, against the backdrop of where we are right now, you know, economy-wise?
Well, like I said before, the president has good intentions and means well. But you see, the economy is an intricate machinery, so to say. And we really just have to do the right thing. The president has a lot going for him. He has a whole lot of political capital. You know, his integrity, the unprecedented level of trust people have in him, both nationally and internationally. All right, and he has done so well, or he's doing so well in the fight against corruption. You know, that he has done so well. But on the other hand, the economy has not done so well. Let's face it. You see, economists are not politicians. All right. You know, in politics, you can use a whole lot of words to cover up a whole lot of things and sweep a whole lot of things under the carpet. But with the economy, the facts, the results will show. Every quarter, the results come out, how well you're doing, all right? Now, the Nigerian economy is just about to enter into a recession. Now, there's no sentiments about that. The reason for that is not strictly because of petrol price, crude oil price. That's part of it. Another big part of it is the fact that in the last 1 year, Nigeria has not come to terms in applying the right economic tools to driving the economy. And that is the challenge faced by the Buhari administration. In the area of foreign exchange, in the area of the regulation of petrol, of the downstream sector of oil and gas. Now, these issues have to be addressed squarely, without sentiment. Nigeria needs a comprehensive and robust economic policy framework based on the primacy of market forces, of deregulation, liberalization, privatization. Now, these issues have to be addressed squarely. You discover that so far, this government has not come out clearly on its positions on these issues. So we need a policy framework that is focused on a private sector-led economy that recognizes and respects, you know, the free interplay of market forces in determination prices. You know, we're in a democracy. Democracy is not just the ritual of every 4 years ago election. It applies to every sector of society, plus the economy. Economic democracy is a free interplay of market forces what are market forces? It's not some kind of abstract thing. Market forces are is the behavior of economic actors, buyers and sellers.
Demand and supply.
Yes, how they make decisions. It is the collective decisions of buyers and sellers that interplay in form of market forces. And it's when the people are free to think and to make decisions in a certain policy environment that the economy moves.
Okay. Let me bring...
So the point I'm making is that in the area of foreign exchange policies, in the area of price of petrol and all that, the common denominator is to allow the free interplay of market forces.
Okay, let's bring in our Abuja studio, Jai Gaskia here. Jai, it's good to have you on. Sorry for keeping you all the while, but you listened to the president on May 29th. When it comes to, if we have to narrow down to how he appreciates the challenges Nigeria is facing economically and the strategy to move forward, how satisfied are you from what he said about the economy?
Yes, I think that the most significant thing about the president's speech is that I listened carefully to him. The choice of words and the use of words by him. The president still sounds, most of what he said is still aspirational. It's like still projected into the future. There is there doesn't seem to be any plan on in the immediate. It's like we are doing this, we are going to do this, we are going to ensure this. What we really need to know is how you are going to do that, what the plans are on the ground to do that. That's very important to give clear direction to the different actors in the economy. Because when you look at where we are now, the indices is not palatable at all. The economic growth, the GDP growth, was 2.84% in Q3 of 2015. It is now minus 3.6%. The same thing with the situation with jobs. Unemployment has also grown from about 8% in Q3 of 2015 to 12% now. That is absolute unemployment. Now, the underemployment has also grown from 16% to 19%. So you have the composite unemployment rate that has grown from 26% to about 31%. And the way to grow the economy, really, the way to ensure that you actually create jobs and create wealth, is to ensure that businesses are actually functioning, that you are doing things to lower the cost of doing business, you are doing things to ease the way and manner the environment, the policy environment around businesses, such that businesses, both big and small, can thrive. And it is when they thrive that they will create jobs, that they will create wealth, and that the economy will grow and not shrink. These are some of the things that we need to see being put in place so that we can begin to see growth. So we need to know, for example, what are you doing to ensure that the cost of business in Nigeria is lowered? The cost of doing business in Nigeria is lowered. What are you doing, for example, to ensure that industries increase their capacity utilization? We've talked about access to Forex. What are you doing with respect to Forex? I mean, we have to be a little bit more strategic about Forex and access to Forex. Do we really need Forex for the importation of food and some other luxury materials? Shouldn't that actually be more focused on what you can call your strategic needs for the strategic areas of your economy? So it's still not clear really what how we intend to get out of the current morass, and it's as if everything is actually being left to the so-called market forces. And market forces are actually really not artificial things. They are not spirits. Market forces are not automatic. They don't operate in the open space. Market forces operate within the context of policies, policy directions, regulatory frameworks, and the rest of that.
Indeed. Okay, if I may come in here, Jaiye Gaskia.
It's not present. It's not going to be possible.
Yes, in his speech, the president did admit the fact that devaluation has really done a lot of harm to the Nigerian currency. And we are all worried about the state of the Naira, you know, including the president and, of course, the ordinary man on the street. But a strong currency, like he said, is predicated on a strong economy. And a strong economy is predicated on a strong industrial base. Now, for us to achieve this, with the state of the power sector right now, that doesn't look like it's going to improve anytime soon. How realistic is it, this vision of, you know, moving Nigeria from this monoproduct economy to a more diversified one in a way that the manufacturing sector is, you know, robust?
Yeah, I think that's the point that is actually really being made. The fact is, and that's the point that many analysts have made with respect to the fact that we don't have a strategic economic direction, economic plan from the government. For example, a plan that would prioritize what are the priorities in the economy. I would think that to grow this economy, like you rightly mentioned, two things are critical: power and energy. So if power and energy are critical, so what are your policies to ensure, for example, that we increase, you know, and improve in the power sector, generation, transmission and distribution capacities? What are the challenges faced in those sectors? How can those challenges be met? What are the plans being put in place to meet those challenges? So we talk about vandalization. We talk about, do we really need to keep depending on gas? Do we and how soon, how long will it take us to do this? One would then expect that your fiscal policy, your forex policy would actually be focused on your priority areas, so that you can if we can ease access to forex in order to be able to develop, to get these areas back on stream quickly, that the ordinary Nigerian business person, whether small scale, medium scale, or large scale, really needs precious little other support from government in terms of infrastructure in order to be able to grow their businesses. Because if we can solve the question of power, so we need to be a bit more strategic. For example, we need to say, okay, look, this is the available power we have now. Can we be more strategic in terms of actually having a timetable, a schedule, to say that this part of the country will have power for like 6 hours a day, and so that businesses can plan. Because if you cannot plan, you are not going to be able to really return to the path of growth. So these are the kinds of things that are still missing that we need to do. Because like the president said, he is correct to say that we need a strong industrial base. But we need policies that will enable the industrial base to actually, to go to and to meet their optimum capacity utilization.
Okay, now let me come to studio and bring in Igbinoba here. The point there is, he mentioned the issue of foreign exchange. We see the tight nature of available accessibility to foreign exchange, where the issues of rationing is there and all of that. Now, foreign companies that are supposed to come into Nigeria, like you mentioned, the issue of the democracy in the economy, or the freedom of market forces, they are looking at the inability to access foreign exchange. Now, how will this hamper the issue of private companies coming in to invest in the economy in critical areas?
I think first, let me just go back to the issue of devaluation, because I think the issue wasn't really directly addressed by my colleague in Abuja. You know, there's this sentiments about devaluation. Today, really globally, the world has moved beyond devaluation, basically. In the 70s and part of the early 80s, in most countries, that's when currencies had a fixed exchange rate. All right. Usually, a currency will be aligned to a major currency like the dollar or the pound sterling. Nigeria's currency was determined by a basket of 5 major currencies, our major trading partners: United States, Britain, Japan, France, and Germany then. But the world has moved away from fixed exchange rates. The world now operates flexible exchange rates. So today, really, you don't talk much about devaluation. You talk about depreciation, appreciation, because market forces determine the value of currencies. So the kind of sentiments we attach to our currency is really neither here nor there. It doesn't produce any results. So instead of talking of devaluation, what we're talking about is how do we determine a realistic exchange rate? All right, a realistic exchange rate can best be determined by allowing market forces to determine the value of your national currency. And you discover that today, that realistic exchange rate, if we allow it to have its way, won't be as high as what we have currently in the parallel market.
But won't that be counterproductive, for an import-oriented, country like ours?
No, absolutely no. I think the president is just sentimentally attached to this whole thing of the value of the naira, and all that. You see, economics is full of paradoxes. That is, statements that appear apparently contradictory but are true. The best way to manage an economy is an economy is best managed that is least managed. That's just what I want to say. So government should just step aside, put in place the right policy framework, and let the economy drive. So that is it, and in all aspects, including foreign exchange. So let's overcome this hangover with devaluation, blah blah blah. As good as we appreciate the intentions. So that is now, and that's in a way answers the question, because now you're talking about how do foreign investors, local investors, how do key economic actors access foreign exchange, and how do those who want to even bring in foreign exchange feel comfortable and confident that Nigeria is a marketplace to play? Because let's face it, the world is a global village, and there are so many emerging markets that are competing for the limited, space and funds. So, see, the best way to manage the naira is not to manage it. Let me just put it that way. Yes.
It's not to control and command it.
Yes.
That's what they call an oxymoron.
So,
right?
Yes.
Okay.
That's like a paradox, but that's just it.
Okay.
If you do that, you discover that things will just take shape.
Okay, so just hold that thought. Let's move on to other issues that the president addressed in his speech. Corruption in the civil service and efforts being made to flush out the bad eggs and reform the civil service was another key aspect of President Muhammadu Buhari's Democracy Day speech.
Working very hard to introduce some vital structural reforms in the way we conduct government business and lay a solid foundation on which we can build enduring change. An important first step has been to get our housekeeping right. So we have reduced the extravagant spending of the past. We started boldly with the Treasury single account, stopping the leakages in the public expenditure. We then identified 43,000 ghost workers through the integrated payroll and personal information system that represents pay package totaling 4.2 billion naira stolen every month. In addition, we will save 23 billion naira per annum from official traveling and sitting allowances alone.
All right, the president talked about issues of prudence and corruption. Let me bring in Jaye Gaskia here. Certainly, the whole world knows where the president stands when it comes to the issues of corruption and his disposition to it. But in the face of people saying that his anti-corruption drive is skewed to a particular direction and is selective, as the case may be, how would you rate the president's anti-corruption drive?
Actually, I would say that the president's the area where this regime has made the most advance is in the area of the anti-corruption fight. And I do not belong to that school of thought that talks about selectivity, witch hunting, and the rest of that. I mean, I've always insisted that if every president and every regime fights corruption, even if they are selective and they are witch hunting, it means that it will get to the turn of another person who can then be selective and witch hunt too. Because corruption needs to be addressed. And then again too, there is also no basis to the question of selectivity. I mean, if a party has been in power for 16 years at the federal level, it presided over a systemic corruption, it stands to reason that the bulk of the people that will be involved in that corruption will be members of that party. I mean, people don't steal and share with their enemies. When they steal, they share with their friends. So, I mean, it really does not stand to reason to start talking about the selectivity. I think that what is important is how do we take this forward and, you know, go forward with it. But part of the challenge, though, that in listening to the president, because I mean, let's go back to the civil service, because we are talking about large-scale corruption. Let's go back to the civil service and the corruption in the civil service. Let us not forget that the previous government also discovered several ghost workers. In fact, as at the time that the previous government was leaving office, or the last 2 years, they said about 60,000 ghost workers were discovered. Now, this new government in 1 year has also discovered 43,000 ghost workers. We have been told how much we are saving as a result of those discoveries. But the fact is that ghost workers, because we call them ghost workers, does not mean that they are actually being manipulated by ghosts. They are being manipulated by human beings, by real human beings. Nobody has been prosecuted. Nobody has been indicted. Nobody is presently facing charges. And it is because people are not prosecuted, people are not punished, that the phenomenon keeps repeating itself. So until you get to the stage where you virtually complete the digitalization of your payroll system, the biometric registration of your payroll system, and the rest of that. But even at that, people will still find ways around it if you do not punish people, if people are not prosecuted, and people do not know that there is a consequence, you know, for this. Because there must be some people who benefited from the 43,000 salaries and the emoluments that were paid to 43,000 ghost workers. Who are these people? What is being done to them, so that they can serve as an example to others in the system, so that this will not be done. I think that the anti-corruption drive needs to be, therefore, a little bit more focused in terms of this kind of things that we're talking about. Being a little bit more targeted, more specific, and letting citizens know, into the know of what is happening, because it's not enough. The anti-corruption fight itself needs to be transparent and accountable.
Indeed. All right, let's come to Paul Igbinoba in the studio here. There have been so many different attempts at reforming the Nigerian civil service. As a matter of fact, the early days of this government, Governor El-Rufai of Kaduna State did say that this government's plans and visions and policies may just fall on their face if something is not done about the Nigerian civil service. From Adebo Commission, Udoji and Phillips panel and all the rest of them. What exactly is at the root of the corruption that we find in the civil service?
Well, corruption in the civil service is just, I would say, it's a reflection of the corruption at the political space. You know, there's a book called Why Nations Fail, written by two authors, and they said there are two kinds of political systems. You have an inclusive system, an inclusive political system, and then you have an extractive political system. Nigeria falls into the extractive system, where the political actors contrive all kinds of schemes to extract as much wealth from the Commonwealth. All kinds of schemes. You know, and that is just what's happening here. So when the political actors and system, the whole system is built on a foundation of corruption, on how to get as much as possible. Then certainly the civil servants who are the ones who help to do things, we also have their own fair share. That's just it. If we can clean up the entire political system, it's certainly going to also impact positively on the civil service. You know, so that's just it. But again, there are other issues by the civil service. Civil service is bloated, is huge, it's over-established. We have too many MDAs, too many ministries, departments and agencies, close to 1,000 and all that. So it's going to be a gradual and systematic restructuring process, you know, and the best thing is to ensure that it's a bit seamless, so that as you are offloading some people from public sector, they can easily get jobs in the private sector. That's going to involve retraining, entrepreneurship, all kinds of schemes, and that. So, but basically, it's not going to be easy. Okay, you have the Stephen Oronsaye report and all that on collapsing the MDAs. It's a difficult process, I tell you. But the first thing is that government should have the political will, and also a system that has a human face. All right, so that gradually people are moved away, and then the service becomes slimmer, and more fleet-footed, and able to really achieve.
More effectively.
Funds and gains of the. Okay, let's.
Yeah, I think let's see the report first, and then we'll move on
to
the looted funds recovery.
I would like to directly address you on the very painful but inevitable decisions we had to make in the last few weeks, specifically pump price of fuel and the more flexible exchange rate policy announced by the central bank. It is even more painful for me that a major producer of crude oil with 4 refineries that once exported refined product is today having to import all of its domestic needs. This is what corruption and mismanagement has done to us, and that is why we must fight these ills. After a comprehensive investigation, my advisors and I concluded that the mechanism was unsustainable.
All right, let me direct this to Jaye Gaskia. You heard that on the issue of removal of subsidy. Now, the debate about there was subsidy, no, there was no subsidy. Okay, we're removing it. No, what are you removing if there wasn't subsidy and all of that? Do Nigerians really have a clear, or has government been able to make Nigerians understand the dynamics and the politics involved in the issue of subsidy over the years, if I have to put it that way?
I think that this has not been very clear and very clearly put to Nigerians. The debate has not been clear. The debate has been confused around subsidy or no subsidy and the rest of that. Whereas the issue really is about what the president said towards the tail end of his commentary on the state of the refineries. That the problem is that this country moved from a country that was dependent on domestic refining to meet its domestic needs for petroleum, refined petroleum products, to a country that became dependent on importation. That's the basis of this. And then if you now have that, and you have a regime where you need to maintain accessibility, and affordability of the product, then you are faced with a constant situation of trying to bridge the gap between the landing cost and the pump price that you fix. Now, what this government has done really now is to say that, okay, look, now the pump price is going to actually reflect the landing cost. And what this means, and also by pegging it to the exchange rate of the naira, and pegging it to your access to that forex. What has been done inexorably, and which is actually counterproductive to the original intention of that policy, is that you have also then created added inflationary pressures on the value of the naira, which was responsible for the decline in the value of the naira from the moment that decision was made. And we have had a situation where marketers are already beginning to also ask for concessionary rates to be able to access, forex. Because what we are going to do at the end of the day is that you will throw the economy into a tailspin of ever increasing price of the product, and therefore also ever increasing inflation. Now, what the government has been silent about, and what the government has not done over the last 1 year, over the 1 year in office, is that the pricing is not the only issue. The issue, as we have said, is domestic refining capacity. So what has been done about addressing the question of acquiring adequate domestic refining capacity? This does not have to be done only through the publicly owned refineries. So what is the status? What is the stage in terms of the conditions, concessionary rates, and conditions that you are granting to investors to be able to invest in this downstream sector, in refineries? What kind of refineries are you looking at? Are you looking at modular refineries that can be built over a short period of time, smaller capacity, but several of them can help to bridge this gap. I would also expect that a government that is building a strategic relationship with a country like China would say to China, these are my priorities, power and energy. I will say that your assistance, your infrastructure assistance, and all it is that we need, that this is where we want it concentrated. Again, the problem is the absence of a plan, of a clear-cut plan, indicative plan of how you want to get out of this, so that you can present and sell to your supporters, your economic partners, to help you to get out of this morass. This we have not seen. This we are not seeing. It seems to me like the statement about domestic refining capacity still remains aspirational. We are not seeing any adequate plans in place to make this happen beyond the Dangote refinery, for example. Many other refineries are coming on stream, and so on and so forth. This is what we need to see. Otherwise, the pressure on the naira, on the value of the naira, will continue as long as marketers continue to try to source for the forex.
All right, I'm sure Paul Igbinoba would want to respond to that, but at this point we'll have to call Moses Omogana in, who will tell us what's happening.
Get the reactions on social media.
Yes, on social media.
Yes.
Moses, good morning.
Morning, Mr. Igbinoba. Okay, so before we dish in, and I would like to, create an impression, the hashtag World No Tobacco Day, because on social media, a lot of people are using World Tobacco Day and using an excuse to go light a cigarette. So that's the impression. Emphasis on the no there. No Tobacco Day.
No
exactly. Is the underlying word.
All right. So let's go into, what Nigerians are saying. The Why Nigeria and the NTA, was very helpful, in dishing out, comments, made by the President on Democracy Day. Now, Why Nigeria says, we have delivered significant milestones on security, corruption, and the economy, quoting Buhari there. And Esther Egbarikwe says, on the Niger Delta, we are committed to implementing the UNEP report, also quoting the President there. Why Nigeria also says, critics have said budget exercise was clumsy, but it was an example of consensus building. In the end, we resolve our differences, quoting PMB there as well. And also went further to say, it has been a year of triumph, consolidation, pain, and achievement. Of course, Buhari's words. And Why Nigeria also says, the recent spate of attacks will not distract us from engaging leaders in the region in addressing Niger Delta issues. Of course, as well, of the Boko Haram insurgency. And the NTA says that we are committed to providing job opportunities to 500,000 teachers and 100,000 artisans across the nation, President Buhari's words. And also it says that the process of recovering of stolen assets can be tedious and time-consuming. Like the political analyst, DSNJ said, most of these comments are quite aspirational. But Mr. Igbinoba, now, we know that about 50% of our economic progress, lies in the power sector. Now, international social critics have said that two major issues, why we cannot have 24/7 electricity here is due to economic and political sabotage. About 18 billion naira is spent on generators every year, and 4 trillion is spent further to even fuel them. So, obviously, tough stands need to be done. Tough decisions need to be taken. What is the way to go? Bluntly putting it.
The issue of the power sector is structural and long-term. Excuse me. But we're having an immediate challenge in the Niger Delta. Now, that can best be solved politically. One will really sympathize with the president, with some of the issues that are now emerging in the South-South, with these militants and all that. Well, there's always the urge to use force, but that cannot provide a sustainable solution. So we're all going to pray for the president and do all we can to assist him to really make a headway. But certainly you need to reach out to the people because they also have their grievances. You need to reach out to them to find a common ground. Unless that is done, no matter how much we invest in power infrastructure, the sabotage is going to undermine its effectiveness. Yes.
All right, Moses, thank you.
Yeah, you know how we roll.
There we go. All right, there you go. Okay, now talking about the Niger Delta. Resurgence of Niger Delta militancy wasn't left out. President Buhari disclosed readiness on the part of the government to dialogue.
The recent spate of attacks by militants disrupting oil and power installations will not distract us from engaging leaders in the region in addressing Niger Delta problems. If the militants and vandals are testing our resolve, they are much mistaken. We shall apprehend the perpetrators and their sponsors and bring them to justice.
All right, you listened to the president on the issue of the issues in the Niger Delta generally. You mentioned that just earlier on as part of the challenges the president is going to face. Yeah. But if we put things in perspective, we have had analysts here who say that these things are a product of regional politics generally. It's not born out of the genuine agitation for people's need generally. What's your take on that?
Well, the truth is that neither that fellow or we are really on the ground there, but we know that the issues in Niger Delta is historical and also contemporary. We know there are issues there on the ground, right, in terms of empowerment, in terms of access to resources, even resource control and all that. Certainly there's some level of disenchantment among the people, and there's also some level of feeling left out, so to say. I don't know. So you see, it's just like the issue in the Northeast. You need to reach out to the people. They are Nigerians. They are part of the Nigerian constituency.
Indeed. So do you think the cleanup of the Niger Delta, the Ogoni land, for example, that the president is going to do come June 2nd, how much difference will this make?
Well, really, I think President Buhari should give him the credit for having the political will to initiate the cleanup. The report has been there for years. Why didn't President Jonathan act on it? I mean, that really bogs my imagination. So it is to the President Buhari's credit that he's taking that action. Okay. But the issues goes beyond environmental cleanup. That will take about 30 years to do. But now going back to the immediate issue of the grievances, the agitation, all right, by this group calling themselves the Niger Delta Avengers. That is a very difficult thing to handle. Well, of course, there's always this urge to, this, where you want to just go there and wipe them out, but that will not solve the problem. So we really have to, the president will have to do all he can to mobilize all the political will and support to reach out to them for a peaceful settlement.
All right, Paul Igbinoba, thank you very much for coming on TVC Breakfast.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, we still have Jaye Gaskia with us in our Abuja studio. Now, you listened to the president on the issue of the Niger Delta challenges on insecurity issues there. We saw the era where the movement for the emancipation of the Niger Delta did a lot of things at that time, creating a scenario and a situation and circumstance in the Niger Delta. Now we have the Niger Delta Avengers. Some people said the timing of this is deliberate, where some people are, it is bent on sabotaging what the government is about to do generally. What's your take on this?
Yeah, I think let me start from this statement. I think that what the Niger Delta requires is actually a developmental revolution, not vengeance, and the revolutionaries to carry that out, not avengers. What has been missing in the Niger Delta over the years is that, and what the youths of the Niger Delta have learned is that over the last 6 or so years, they have seen that there is an economic value which they would not derive anywhere else in violence, in armed militancy. So some people did that and they were compensated. And so others feel it is their turn to do this now. So it's a negotiating tool. But just imagine if this government had started differently with the Niger Delta, had engaged stakeholders in the Niger Delta, that both non-state actors as well as state actors, federal, using the Ministry of Niger Delta, but also involving the state governments and the local governments in the Niger Delta, and the NDDC, to ensure that the development strategy for the Niger Delta actually focuses on a complementarity of providing infrastructures and the rest of that. Doing that, you will create jobs. Now, if you also invest in the cleanup of the Niger Delta environment, not just Ogoni environment now, in the entire Niger Delta environment, you are going to be doing a number of things.
Yes,
you are going to be creating jobs, because people are going to be engaged. These youths are going to be engaged, and then you are also going to be opening up new means of livelihood.
All right,
because
Jai,
you are going to be restoring the environmental health of the environment,
Jai,
and you'll be able to then restore livelihoods, agricultural livelihoods.
All right, Jaye Gaskia, thank you very much for talking to us on TVC Breakfast.
Thank you.